must say I have never quite seen a house like this.
The most haunted house in the world
Do you believe in ghosts, Doctor?
is real.
I do not believe in anything I cannot see or study.
On February 2nd,
Can I see inside the garden room?
That room is off limits.
Academy Award winner Helen Mirren,
There's a wickedness in this house.
Jason Clarke,
It has found us.
Winchester,
It's quite a special house, is it not?
Doggone it. I hate doing this to you people out there. But it's the law of the West. Homesteader Droopy, anybody? I know this isn't a cowboy hat. In fact, I have a cowboy hat over there over the top there. But it's covered by stuff and I didn't have time to get it out there. So this is the best I could do. So there you go. I'm an idiot. Welcome to Time About the Movies, everybody. It's a double feature weekend once again. Because Super Bowl weekend is here, and that means the studios are staying the fuck back from releasing any of the big stuff. Case in point, with our first movie, which is Winchester, which is the movie from the latest film from the Sprigg brothers, who gave us Daybreakers. Yeah, Daybreakers. They also recently did Jigsaw, which came out not but a couple months ago. And, yeah, if you thought Jigsaw wasn't any good, this one ain't any better either. And what a terrible waste of Helen Mirren, man. This is an Academy Award-winning actress, and she's being wasted on yet another haunted house movie that is just... I mean, do I even need to tell you what the plot of this movie is? Because you could pretty much tell what it is from that trailer alone. Winchester is an heiress to this house, and she's haunted by spirits inside her San Jose mansion in 1906. The movie also features Jason Clarke and also Sarah Snook, pre-Succession. And that's really about it, man. I mean, this movie is lame. It's boring. The scares are not that effective. I mean, if your big jump scare at the end of a commercial is just somebody doing that to you, you don't have a movie. You don't have a film. But then again, you wouldn't expect anything less from the wonderful people at CBS Films, because this literally feels like a CBS film, all right. It seems like one of their pilots that they had, and they basically blew it up for the big screen, and yeah, this is the end result you get here. So, yeah, like I said, we can be very quick on this one here, because really, there's not much more you can really add to it overall. Wasted actors, no good scares whatsoever, and talk about a desperate plea from these two directors who started off so strongly with Daybreakers, and then after all that, have fallen down to this, Jigsaw and Winchester. Just, what a rough couple of months for them overall, So there you go. Let's go ahead now and move on to, oh, wait a minute, there's something going on here on Netflix tonight after the Super Bowl. Let's take a look at that.
Right here, the Statue of Liberty.
Looks like you should have left town a little bit earlier.
Whatever you're doing, stop.
Holy shit, Netflix has dropped a new Cloverfield movie out of the blue. This is completely blowing my mind. OMG Robs. Well, to be fair, there were some rumors beforehand that Netflix had actually picked up a Cloverfield movie not too long before this came out in particular, but who would have guessed that they were going to drop a new Cloverfield movie right after the Super Bowl? And, yeah, they're keeping with the traditions of the Cloverfield franchise, basically telling everybody that nothing really, because, you know, the first Cloverfield movie first trailer came out with Transformers. Nobody really knew what it was, and then that went on to become a great movie. 10 Cloverfield Lane, nobody even knew that movie existed at the beginning of 2016, but then you go see 13 Hours, and then you see a trailer for it. It's already coming out within 2 months from that point, and that turned out to be a great movie. So, you figure that they're going to keep the tradition where, you know, they put the movie out right after the big game, a big, highly anticipated next installment in a series of films that had already impressed its audience with 2 really solid and entertaining movies. This is about as brilliant of a marketing move that Netflix could do at this point. So that means Netflix knows they got something really good on their hands, right? Right? I mean, you didn't spend all that money just to give us a really terrible movie, right? Please tell me you didn't do that. But, yeah, this movie is, yeah, it's pretty bad. So it follows an international group of astronauts aboard a space station who, after using a particle accelerator to try to solve Earth's energy crisis, must find a way home after accidentally traveling to an alternate dimension. You have characters played by Daniel Bruhl, Elizabeth Debicki, you see Guba Mbatha Raw, Chris O'Dowd, John Ortiz, David Oriello, Zhang Ziyi. This is directed by Julius Ona, who went on to go on to direct Overlord, and then later on did Captain America, the Anthony Mackie one, Captain America: Brave New World. And I went on there. I was watching reviews for this overall, and you can already tell that it wasn't another classic. I mean, on Rotten Tomatoes at that point, it was already at 20% in terms of critical reviews. And this movie in particular, when you watch it, you can definitely see why it's a disappointment. But I don't think it's as bad as people make it out to be. It's definitely the worst of the Cloverfield movies, but I thought the first two acts were really good, and then the third act just completely falls apart when they're desperately trying to tie it back to the other Cloverfield movies, which this really does not. There's a really good cast involved in there, and you would think this would be strong enough to carry the film, but then the third act is once again where it really falls apart. And honestly, to me, it felt like they rushed it out there. They wanted to get it out after the Super Bowl, even though it clearly wasn't a finished film. And this sat on the shelf at Paramount for over a year, and yet it felt rushed. Like, I really don't know what the hell happened. And I had heard that they wanted J.J. Abrams to come in and rewrite the script, but he got brought on to do Star Wars Episode 9 after The Last Jedi. And, no, not even that, after the Book of Henry flopped, which was going to be directed by Colin Trevorrow, the ninth Star Wars movie. So, but J.J. Abrams was working on that. He couldn't work on this film. So I don't know how true those rumors are, but if they were true, you would think Abrams would have some time to come in and do some retooling here. But where the movie does fall apart is trying to bring it back to Cloverfield. What was the biggest fault of 10 Cloverfield Lane? The last 10 minutes were completely unnecessary. We're only put it in there to tie into the film that would have worked on its own as a standalone film. Back to the original Cloverfield. Like, what's the biggest fault here? The same goddamn thing, except for it to happen in the last 10 minutes. It's happening sporadically throughout the film, and it's done in a much poorer and badly executed way. The film has to keep reminding us that this is indeed a story taking place in the Cloverfield saga, when we were already made of aware of that because of the fact the fucking title of the movie is called The Cloverfield Paradox. Like, unlike 10 Cloverfield Lane, where the film works on its own as a standalone film, this film fails because of the countless times it has to keep reminding you, oh, by the way, folks, this is taking place before the events of the first Cloverfield movie. Look, these movies are trying to be a modern-day version of The Twilight Zone, but here's the difference between The Twilight Zone and what the Cloverfield movies have done. The Twilight Zone were standalone stories. They never really connected back to the source material. The Hollywood Reporter, back when you could trust the Hollywood Reporter, did an article talking about this. It basically said that if J.J. Abrams wanted this franchise to be his Twilight Zone, it's instructive to remember not everything has to be connected. Besides Rod Sterling coming in to give us introductions to each episode, every Twilight Zone episode was standalones. They didn't try to connect to one another, and they worked because they were standalones. And if the Cloverfield franchise is going to survive, it can't just keep connecting back to the first movie, unless that's the whole point. Remember, folks, this movie was not made with the intent on being a Cloverfield movie. This was essentially made to be a standalone film, not to take place in the world they set up. It's like if you took a movie like Zootopia and kept it the way it was, but then it's revealed that it's actually taking place in the same universe as The Lion King. It makes no sense whatsoever, and it would dampen an already great movie in the process. Like, this is a disappointment. It fails to capture what made Cloverfield and 10 Cloverfield Lane the great movies that they were. And instead of just simply coming off as a gigantic misfire on so many levels. It's just not a good movie, and it doesn't take away my enjoyment of what the franchise has been able to do. If they can rebound it with another film, I'd be back on board with that. They've been talking about doing a fourth film for a long time now, but I haven't really heard a lot about it since then. So I don't know if they're doing it, or even if the new heads at Paramount will let them do it in the first place. But as far as this goes, this is a huge disappointment. After such a smart and bold marketing move to put this out shortly after after announcing it during the biggest TV event of the year, this is the product you give us? It's a mess. It's a disappointment on so many levels, and it just, it's funny because the same person who directed this movie worked on a much better Cloverfield movie that wasn't even a Cloverfield movie, also produced by J.J. Abrams, and Overlord, which comes out at the end of the year. We're gonna get to it in November, but yeah, Overlord is much more of a Cloverfield movie than this is, and it's much better than this movie is. So those are the two movies released on Super Bowl weekend. So let's go ahead and move on to the big releases pre-Valentine's Day weekend. Most of them are not very good. Case in point with our first film, 50 Shades Freed.
I solemnly vow to love you faithfully, forsaking all others. I promise to trust and respect you, and to keep you safe for as long as we both shall live. All that I have is now yours.
You own this?
We own this.
Oh, my sister in Christ, you have been in love with this dude for the past 3 years. You have no idea that he owns a plane? He's rich! What the fuck did you think was gonna happen here? Oh, thank God these movies are over, man, because, yeah, these movies, I kept away from these for the longest time, but then I did, like, a summer suck fest where I was gonna look at these terrible movies, and I knew I had to sit through these ones, but I was not expecting them to be as terrible as they thought they would, because, holy mother of God, this one is the worst of the worst, man. Believing they have left behind shadowy figures from their past, newlyweds Christian and Anna, once again played by Jamie Dornan and Dakota Johnson, fully embrace an inextricable connection and shared life of luxury. But just as she steps into her role as Mrs. Gray and he relaxes into an unfamiliar stability, new threats could jeopardize their happy ending before it even begins. OMG Robs! But yeah, I'm glad I got through these movies here, and we have finally reached the end point, and what a shocker, it's the worst thing imaginable. This is easily the worst of these movies, and that's hard to believe, but yeah, this is the bottom of the barrel. There is no story here at all. Things just happen to pad out the runtime, and just have things happen for no reason whatsoever. At least you could say about the first two movies is that they were at least an effort to try to tell a story that would appease to people. But in this movie, it's like they completely ran out of ideas and just did whatever it took to get it out. Excuse me, just to get it out there quickly. Sorry about that. It was unbearable to get through. I really did struggle to get through this movie because it was such an excruciating experience to sit through. And once again, the chemistry between Dornan and Johnson is just not there. Dakota Johnson is the only thing trying to make something out of nothing, and as much as she tries, it's not enough to save this film. And just because he wasn't creepy or annoying even enough in the last movie, Eric Johnson's Jack Hyde is back. And guess what? He's going to be even more annoying and creepy in this movie. It's just a lackluster antagonist who has one goal, and that's to make Anna and Kristen's life a living hell, and that's it. And even worse, they throw on a twist that the real reason why Jack is going after Kristen and Anna is because, here we go, something you'd never expect in a million years because it has never been done before. I can't believe that this movie had the balls to do this. Christian is actually Jack's foster brother. Hyde was vengeful over Christian being adopted by the wealthy Gray family instead of him, and that's why he's trying to ruin his life. Oh my God, what an eventful twist. It's like this hasn't been done before numerous times before. Oh yes, it fucking has! Have you got the point yet? Let me keep going. Okay, you think you're going, okay, the story isn't great and all, but what about the sex scenes, man? I mean, these books are known for the risque sex scenes that they're going to have in these movies, and no, they're not sexy again in this movie. Even the actors don't even feel like they don't want to be there anymore. The music is terrible. The drama in this is so god-awful. There's nothing here. Like, instead of going out on a high note, this goes out as a lifeless stone movie and is just trying to do whatever it takes to get itself over with your money. This franchise wasted a promising young actress who is better than this in Dakota Johnson. It tries to make a lifeless, creepy stalker the main hero of the film, and it takes sex and make it the most boring thing on the planet. This is one of the worst things I have ever seen in my entire life. This thing, 50 Shades is the absolute worst franchise in the history of entertainment, which means that somebody out there is going out there and look at this and go like, oh yeah? Well, I can make a franchise that's just as worse. And sure enough, the 365 Days franchise is a prime example of that. Because yeah, you know what those movies are? They're like 50 Shades, except even worse. Except this time around, the Christian Grey in those movies is a millionaire who kidnaps a woman and forces him to fall in love with her. And by the end of it, they do fall in love, and not in a good way, because in this world you can just go ahead and kidnap somebody you love, and you force them to love you. That is literally what those movies are. I mean, I just don't get it, man. I don't get it at all. I need a palate cleanser here. So, let's get to the one good movie that we have this entire show, and that is the surprising Peter Rabbit.
This Friday, train hard, play harder, and never stop fighting.
Why are you kids walking so slow?
Hello. I have a vermin problem.
He won't take our home without a fight. I'm going in.
You're mine, Rabbit.
It's Bunny
Things are not going to end well for you.
versus Bully.
Let's do this. It's on to the next phase.
Yeah!
I have an idea.
What is happening?
Peter Rabbit, rated PG, in theaters Friday.
Again, it's another one of those movies where you see the trailers, you see the advertising, and it looks pretty bad. And you also remember that this is Sony, a company that became notoriously bad for some of their really terrible movies released in 2017. You know, Life, Rough Night, The Emoji Movie, The Dark Tower, Smurfs The Lost Village, Roman J. Israel Esquire, The Star. And then all of a sudden the year ends with their biggest surprise yet with Jumanji, Welcome to the Jungle, which was not only good, but surprisingly really good. So could they pull it off with Peter Rabbit? Were the trailers misleading the audiences into thinking this was going to be bad, or is there actual merit here? A little bit of both. It's of course based off the books by Beatrix Potter. We have Peter Rabbit, played by James Corden, his three sisters Flopsy, Mopsy, and Cottontail, played by Margot Robbie, Elizabeth Debicki, and Daisy Ridley, and their cousin Benjamin, enjoying their days harassing Mr. McGregor in his vegetable garden. Until one day he dies because they find out he's allergic to carrots, and he dies of a carrot allergy, and which I thought was pretty hilarious when I first saw that. It's just like, I love how, I mean, that right there made me go like, okay, maybe this isn't going to be as bad as I thought it was going to be. You know, he dies, and no one can stop him from roaming across his house and lands for a full day or so. However, when one of Mr. McGregor's relatives, played by Domhnall Gleeson, inherits the house and goes to check on it, he finds that he has more than he's bargained for. What ensues is a battle of the wills between the new Mr. McGregor and the rabbits. When he starts to fall in love with Bee, played by Rose Byrne, who's a real lover of all nature, his feelings towards them begin to change. But is it too little too late? And I think you can kind of tell what happens from there. Like I said, the movie was actually a surprising fun film to watch. Heavily flawed, yes, but fun nonetheless. There is a lot of great, bizarre, fun stuff. Like I said, I love the fact that the stuff that Peter Rabbit does to the Domhnall Gleeson character reaches insanity levels that are so on the level of a Bugs Bunny cartoon, and yet it's still pretty funny too. Like, I don't know what it is, but there's these and some other insane, hilarious moments kind of work to the film's advantage. It's like when you watch the SpongeBob movie, the Sponge Out of Water, where they would just have these insane, out-of-nowhere moments that are reminiscent of how kids' movies used to be back in the day, the 70s, 80s, and 90s, where they just didn't care who it was going to offend. They were going to do it, and you know what? I give them credit to that. They actually made this movie more watchable because of that. The casting overall is great. James Corden actually is surprisingly really good as Peter Rabbit. I like the voice work by everybody else. He has a fun role in this as well. Like I said, Rose Byrne and Domhnall Gleeson are perfectly fine in this. Even though Rose Byrne comes off a little bit ditzy in this, the biggest problem I have with it is that the story is a little too generic and cliche, and when the jokes fall flat, they really fall flat. Like, there are some real lazy, misfire jokes in this that even the most generic of kids' movies wouldn't even make. That's how lazy some of these jokes are. But, much to my surprise, Peter Rabbit was not as bad as those trailers made it out to be. It has a lot of wit and charm to it. It makes it worth watching in the end, but yeah, the script overall isn't great, and when the jokes are bad, they're really bad, but overall, this is definitely a movie that I would say is actually kind of good. It's no Paddington, but it's certainly better than some other bad movies that this could have been. Like, this could have been another Garfield, this could have been another Fat Albert, this could have been another Smurfs. It's not that at all, and in fact, it actually succeeded more than I thought it was going to. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a pretty fun film overall. I recommend it. Peter Rabbit is kind of fun. Nothing spectacular, nothing amazing, but fun. So let's go ahead and move on to our last movie that we have here. Clint Eastwood's back with his latest film, and that is the 1517 to Paris.
Eastwood.
You ever just feel like life is just pushing us towards something? Like some greater purpose?
Comes an incredible true story.
Just wanted to go to war and I wanted to save lives.
Portrayed by the actual heroes who lived it. The 1517 to Paris, rated PG-13.
can we please stop it with the, let's bring in these real-life soldiers and heroes into our movies so it'll be more authentic given, because it's just getting lazy at this point. I mean, Act of Valor, I thought was an intriguing idea until you actually see the movie, and it's just kind of like, what the fuck is this, man? I mean, there's a reason why these people can't act, and I appreciate what the effort you're trying to bring to this is, but it's not worth it here. And sadly, this movie has that too here, and it's just like, I mean, it's a noble cause, but at the same time, it's just not worth it, man. This is pretty lame overall. So this is based off of an autobiography written by Jeffrey E. Stern, Spencer Stone, and Anthony Sadler, who played themselves in this, following the trio through life leading up to and stopping the 2015 Titus train attack. There's also appearances by Judy Greer and also Jenna Fisher. And, again, a noble cause, but at the same time, this is pretty pathetic. And for Clint Eastwood, like, I expect much better from him. We get it. You want to make something that promotes real heroism, but you know what? When you have to stretch a movie out to 94 minutes and have nothing interesting or exciting happen in this, you come off as desperate. And I mean, again, you expect Clint Eastwood to be better. I know he's had his misfires over the years, but this is definitely one where I feel like his heart's in the right place. But the idea should just state that, an idea. The acting overall in this is pretty lazy. The dialogue is way too heroic for its own good. Let me put it this way. Remember that scene from the Family Guy Back to the Pilot episode where Brian goes back in time and goes and stops 9/11, and you know he has this whole video put online where he goes where he's trying to save the plane from crashing into crashing into the Pentagon, and he's just like coming up with these really bad American lines, you know, these really bad heroic climactic lines, like stuff like this.
Here, make sure you get all this. Time to terrorize the terrorists.
Ugh, you prepared catchphrases for yourself?
No, not necessarily. Mohammed Atta stayed home.
Nobody knows that guy's name yet. You're using information that nobody knows.
Houston, we have a solution.
Houston's for space, not everyday air travel.
Tell them to ground every plane out of the East Coast. Seacrest out.
Those are the type of lines that are in this movie. Maybe not to that extreme level, but it's pretty damn close, man. This thing is just... This is bad. This is a terrible movie. It's PG-13, so you're not going to get a whole lot of what you're expecting from this type of a film. And it also doesn't help that this is a first-time screenwriter here, and it definitely shows here. This clearly is written by somebody who has never seen these type of films, only has seen stuff like Act of Valor or American Sniper or any war movie post-2012, and basically said, well, I could do this too. And no, you can't. And it shows on screen here. It's a bad movie. It's a really bad film. Again, noble intentions, really bad execution. If I was you, I would avoid the 1517 to Paris like the plague. I mean, there's probably a better train you could take that'll get you there much quicker and not have obnoxious people like these people here. People spurting out lines like this.
Houston, we have a solution. Seacrest out.
And on that positive note, we're going to wrap up another episode of Time About the Movies here. And who would have guessed that about 7 weeks into the year 2018, we have not only is my favorite film of the year, but the biggest hit of the year that really... I mean, people knew this was going to be a hit, but I don't think anyone was expecting this to become the gargantuan hit that this became. Black Panther. We'll talk about the first movie in the Black Panther franchise. We'll talk about what I think is probably Aardman's worst movie ever, and that says a lot because Aardman doesn't usually make crap, but Early Man definitely is a prime example of what happens when Aardman gets a little too high up on their own selves, because yeah, Early Man is a pretty bad film overall, and you know what, that's probably the only two I'm going to cover here. I haven't seen Samson, I haven't seen Detective Chinatown 2, nor have I seen Monster Hunt 2, or The Monkey King 3, so we're going to take a look at both Black Panther and Early Man coming up on the next episode. That'll be tomorrow, and we should get enough material for at least probably a 20-minute video, I would think, but we'll see what happens. We'll play by ear at this point, so with all that said, thank you so much for watching this, and I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please go ahead and do me the honors of hitting that like button, that subscribe button, and that notification button. Also, don't forget to check out our playlist, and don't forget to check out the previous episode we did. So with all that said, whether it's in the past, the present, or the future, I will see you at the movies. Take care.